Right, there's going to be a lot of questions about what happened here, and we don't have all of the answers at this point, but we do want to speak about some of the air traffic control elements here, and we're going to turn to Harvey Scolnick, who is a retired FAA controller. Harvey, good morning to you.
Good morning, David.
Difficult to say good, of course, for both of us on a day like this. I don't want to get ahead of investigators, but there is information, at least out there, listening to the tape of air traffic control, particularly the ground controller who cleared that fire truck initially to cross the runway. You've heard it. What is it? What strikes you?
So there are protocols that are in the FAA handbook for air traffic controllers on runway crossings. The ground controller, which controls all the movement areas on the airport with the exception of the runway, has to coordinate with the local controller or the tower controller, and that's the person who clears airplanes to land and take off and who has ownership of the runway. And there is specific phraseology for the ground controller to call the local controller and say, request to cross runway 4 at taxiway Delta with three vehicles. And the local controller has to respond in a specific way, say, cross runway 4 at taxiway Delta. And then it's the responsibility of the ground controller to say the crossing is complete and the runway is clear. I don't know what happened here. I can't hear that. Sometimes the coordination that goes on between the local controller and the ground controller is not recorded because it's not done over an interphone or radio frequency. It's done just one person talking to another, so I don't know what happened there.
Yeah.
There may be other witnesses in the tower that can attest to that, but runway incursions have always been an issue in the FAA. This kind of thing doesn't happen very often because of the specific phraseology and procedure that controllers are taught. So I honestly can't explain why he would have allowed those trucks to cross the runway without specifically being told to do so. And we don't know that he was or wasn't, but that's just a mystery right now.
Harvey, you've done such a good job explaining what would be required. I actually want to play the tape of what occurred and then come back out and get your reaction to something the controller says to a pilot at the very end of it. Let's listen to it.
Truck 1 and Company, cross 4 at Delta.
Truck 1 and Company, crossing 4 at Delta.
Frontier 4195 to stop there, please. Stop, Truck 1, stop. Stop, Truck 1, stop. Stop, Truck 1, stop. Frontier 4195, I got the word that we're going to be closed for a little while. If you want prepared to return to the ramp, let me know.
Yeah, we got stuff in progress for that, man. That wasn't good to watch.
Yeah, I know. I was here. I tried to reach out to my stuff, and we were dealing with an emergency earlier, and I messed up.
Harvey, I mean, you've been there in a tower. You've been there behind a screen. You've been there in these high-stress moments. To hear a controller say, I messed up, what goes through your mind?
Well, I feel terrible. I just don't have a clue what he was thinking about when he cleared the aircraft to cross as an airplane was landing on the runway. There's just no explanation that I could give anyone right now as to why that rule, which is so specific, in this case was violated. I just, and I feel for that controller. I mean, sometimes we get brain freezes. This may have been what happened there, or maybe there's more to it than we see right now, and we'll have to wait for the investigation.
Yeah, and Harvey, investigators will look not just at this isolated few seconds of time. They will look at the broader context. And we know there is a broader context here, that there has been continued understaffing of air traffic controllers at U.S. airports. There have been concerns about fatigue and overwork. Can you sort of paint that broader picture that investigators will look at in this case?
I'm not sure if that will play a part in this case, but generally speaking, for all my years in the FAA, and there were many, and up until now, staffing has always been a problem at facilities. They've always seemed to operate at the very minimal staffing amounts. It's always been difficult for controllers to get time off and to get shift changes. And that exists today. The FAA says they're going to hire 2,600 controllers this year. Of that 26, usually a third don't make it through the entire program. Morale is low throughout the agency. They just won't take hold of the fact that they never hire enough people to get this job done. There are too many times when positions have to be combined in order to get breaks, in order to give someone a day off. It just makes no sense to me why there isn't more attention being paid to hiring more people so these positions are staffed to where they're supposed to be.
Harvey, I want to show folks, as if you were looking down on the airport, this map that shows the runway on which this occurred. You will see on the left side of the map there, fire station, and you see a red line that comes out from it. The fire trucks were called out from that station to respond to a totally different incident, a United Airlines plane with an unusual odor, the potential that it could have been smoke, and so they respond as if it's an emergency. They go down that taxiway Delta. You see in red the long line, that is runway number 4. And we just heard the air traffic, the controller, the ground controller, at first saying, yes, cross it, and then saying don't. This appears, Harvey, to have happened almost halfway down the runway. Where would the Air Canada plane likely have been in its landing at that moment, halfway down the runway?
So I'm not seeing that on my screen.
Yeah.
But I do have the LaGuardia airport map in front of me, and so it seems to me. Can't be for sure. First of all, right, the trucks were responding to something that happened earlier. So when they come out of their area and go onto a movement area, they call ground control. And they say to ground control, hey, we want to proceed to such and such a point on the airport. And ground control says, Roger, proceed out on Delta, hold short of runway 4. The vehicles can go right up to the edge of the runway, and that's where they're going. And so it seems to me that the CRJ actually, and I can't be positive, was on the ground rolling out when this airplane got the clearance to cross the runway.
So they'd already, in other words, they'd already touched down, but they're at that speeding point where they're attempting to slow down after the landing.
That's what I think.
Yeah. Harvey Scolnick, really appreciate your expertise early this morning. Thank you so much for your time.
My pleasure. Thanks.